Good morning or good afternoon, audiences. Today I'll be discussing you about my results upon my paper of how can digital transformation take part in waste management in Indonesia. My name is Talisha Riyadi. I am from Bandung Institute Technology and I am from the Faculty of School of Business Management. And today I'll be talking to you in the event of IDES 2022. First, I'd like to talk about the context of Indonesia. So, as you know, Indonesia is known for their floras and faunas, and Indonesia is in fact responsible for 1.4% of the world's floras and faunas. However, there is a growing concern of waste for Indonesia. According to the UN, the second largest contributor of plastic marine is Indonesia, and according to Borgen, Indonesia is producing 6.8 million tons of plastic annually, where only 10% of it successfully returned to recycling centers. According to Matilda, this has caused the concern of rise of climate change, extinction of species, and spreading of illnesses. The solution for this is waste management, a collection, transport, treatment, and disposal of waste. However, today in the context of waste management for businesses. So, why should businesses care about waste management? Well, we should understand how much of an impact businesses have and how much of a role that businesses has to the society and also the environment. Business play a huge role in the society, shaping the way it functions through the direct power of action, money, innovation, and also power. According to the Plastic Waste Maker Index in 2021, the leading contributor of plastic waste is upheld by 20 large firms globally. They take up 55% of the world's plastic waste. This just shows how much of an impact that businesses have, not only towards the society, but also the environment. The research objective towards the study is to first discuss about the readiness of the Indonesian market towards a digital-based system, to identify the current waste management system or the system through the SCORE model, to explore opportunities of digital implementation of waste management, and to propose a recommendation for businesses in Indonesia to apply for digitalized waste system. First, let's talk about the business sectors. There are four business sectors according to Shaflan: the extractive, manufacturing, urbanization sector, and control sector. Extractive and manufacturing is the primary and secondary sector that we all know. Urbanization is the tertiary sector, however, is divided into two subsectors, which is fixing, construction, real estate, and retail, and moving, which is suggesting in businesses revolving about logistics. And then we have control sector, which is sectors that are responsible to govern and to control businesses such as financial institution, law, and also the government. Next, we have digital transformation. It is the approach of integrating technology through digital channels or devices for its activities or its operating areas, according to White in 2021. Then, according to Trakoska in 2020, elements of digital transformation does not only revolve upon the infrastructure or the ability to use devices, but it also talks about the environment supporting individuals upon digital-based system. So we also have digital literacy. Digital literacy discusses about the digital readiness, in where it does not only talk about the infrastructure too, or the software or the ability to use something, but it's also the individual's mindset and the individual's motivation upon using digital system. Then we should also talk about supply chain. Supply chain, we would typically know the forward supply chain, which is the conversion of raw materials into finished goods. However, there's also reverse supply chain, or is the collect and recovering product returns. So reverse supply chain, it is where the company, the businesses retrieve the used goods by customers to either refurbish the goods, to use it for a new purpose, or to dispose it properly, because there's a lot of cases where waste is not disposed properly and businesses get in trouble for that because due to the environmental regulations. Then we have a digitized supply chain through 4 different aspects: IoT, mobile application, ERP, and also cloud computing. All of this has shown that it has caused businesses in efficiency, increase in revenue, lower in costs, increase in customer satisfaction, ease of communicating between people in the company, although from different parts of the world. Specifically discussing about cloud computing, there's 3 types, which is SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS. SaaS is software as a service, IaaS is infrastructure as a service, and PaaS is platform as a service. And then we have the SPOR model. The SPOR model is a model analyzing, evaluating, and optimizing process along the value chain. So it is discussing, it is evaluating the process from the start, from literally the planning into the end of the process, either the return of goods or just the end of the product life cycle. For the research design for this, it is an exploratory research, deductive logic with a secondary qualitative data collection. So in here, we are extracting 4 SPOR model results, which is presented in the slide here, and where we evaluate and we suggest and specifically evaluate in discussion of waste management, and we suggest in the ways businesses can implement digitalized waste management system. So let us discuss about our findings. Generally, we'll start on the Indonesian context again. So from our findings, the Indonesian waste system has shown that the Indonesian government has already created regulations upon waste, not only for individual, for households, but also businesses. For businesses, there are divided into 2, which is toxic waste B3 or non-toxic waste, which is non-B3. This regulation is very important because it should be underlined that waste that are toxic should be divided by non-toxic waste, especially when it ends up in landfills. As we can see here, that landfills in Indonesia, waste that dispose in landfills is still many, and the cases of being unmanaged is still very concerning, which takes up about 20%. However, further, which will be mentioned in next slide, that the Indonesian government, upon the regulating and managing waste, has improved tremendously. Next, let's talk about Indonesian digital readiness. From the results, Indonesia by Portuland's Institute, Indonesia ranks 66 out of 130 countries. Indonesia ranks the lowest at 121 in ICT regulatory environment. However, we are also very ranking pretty well, and as we can see in technological pillar. There's certain things that we should improve, and there's also certain things that Indonesia should uphold. Indonesia is still somewhat in the lower boundary, so there's still many things that should be improved. Okay, now let's talk about the results from the SPOR models that has been extracted. So first we have the PT XYZ. As previously mentioned, extractive sectors suggest on sectors that are processing, that is extracting raw materials. From the case here, the one that is the indicators that talks about waste management is fill rate. Although in the table suggests in a green level, However, from the paper itself, it discusses about the management team finding the fill rate still, it is a never-ending process of improvement. So from this, controlling inventory level is very, very important, as it can cause, for having too much stock could cause in the damage of quality, meaning that if the stock is not being used, they'll just hold it in and then it's not going to be used and the quality will be bad, and then they will have to dispose it because they cannot offer it to the customers. Additionally, when it comes to extractive sectors, there are a lot of hazardous hazardous events that must be taken into account, in where PT XYZ is a gas upstream industry. There is possible accidents such as spillage, fires, explosions, or possibly exposure of chemicals and substances to the surrounding areas, which will cause an endangering not only the company or the employees, but also the surrounding areas living around them. Then we have the manufacturing result. In this case, we have PT Yuasa, which is a lithium ion battery company in Indonesia. Here again discusses, and the waste management relates to their inventory levels. Holding a good inventory level is very, very important, especially for this case, PT Yuasa. There's a study from Liao in the study of managing safety risk by cell manufacturer. It has suggested that holding a proper inventory for the company, for the cell manufacturer, is very important because it will cause in the durability of the product and the quality of the product, and in where the factors that affects it are temperature, humidity, altitude, circuit protected condition. So in this case, I'd like to bring up the idea that holding an proper inventory just this not only discuss upon having enough stock, but also having the right environment to store the product itself. Because when the product is not stored properly, it might cause accidents, or it might cause spillage that cause accidents. So that is where the point of view is coming from. Then we have fixed industry in the urbanizational sector. So from this urbanizational sector, fixed industry results, it is a retail company. However, the score model itself does not show a tremendous issue in the waste management. However, there is a study by SIPSN, or Sistem Informasi Pengelolaan Sampah Nasional, that discusses that the leading contributors for waste is represented here in the commercial area and the market area that has been highlighted. According to Business Waste, the reason why retail companies uphold this much waste is due to overstocking and buying too much goods. Typically, the waste that they're producing are cardboards, plastic, and papers. Those are the waste that they're accumulating. So again, it goes back again that having inventory levels is important. Then we have the moving industry. In this case, the moving industry is port. In this case, the issue is a long dwelling time. So why is this an issue of waste management? Well, because a long dwelling time causes in higher gas emissions, which is another waste. Gas emissions are also waste. from the paper itself, the reason dwell times actually differs for different ports because studies upon the different ports in Indonesia. The factors include not having enough equipment, not enough space, and mostly is due to the lack of coordination between different stakeholders because in ports it revolves around of many stakeholders. Then we have the control sector. From this control sector, a study conducted by Deloitte in 2017 has found there are still flaws in the system of management in the case of Jakarta, the capital city of Indonesia, as illegal dumping is very prominent of 60% of total waste, which is equivalent to 407 tons per day. This is still concerning because the growth of consumption in Indonesia is increasing from household and expenses for businesses is increasing over the coming years. So there's the need of having a greater repercussion and regulation from the government itself. Okay, now let's discuss about the recommendation that is proposed. First is for inventory analysis. So the root problem again is inventory management that is previously mentioned. It is either the shortage of supply or the access of stock. For businesses, the disadvantage is the fact they have monetary loss, losing customer loyalty, and is extra cost, and also hazardous as previously mentioned in the possible of accident explosions. So here we would suggest an inventory analytical tool. It is a solution to monitor goods through the supply chain, be it raw material, sales, and the final product. There are three types: descriptive, diagnostic, and predictive. So either predicting, diagnosing, or describing the current inventory levels. The suggested one here is SaaS, which is software as a service, cloud computing. This is because it is for businesses, it's easy to access the data and also to enter data for the business itself. It is SaaS is already made, so it is user friendly, and the businesses does not require to make anything, just to input the data. And the price range that is available for SaaS is based on the business's capability. So it's very accessible, not only for large companies, but small or micro enterprises can also access this program. Then we have a wireless system network, which is discussing about hazardous stock holding. So as it was mentioned, having stock, holding too much stock too long has the risk of change of quality and accidents happening. So the suggested solution would be a wireless system network, or WSN. WSN is a sensor device that overlooks handling condition and detects damages in real time, as it is instrumented with sensors or temperature, sound, pressure, light, humidity, and volatile compound detection. So this is perfect for instance, the cell manufacturing that was previously mentioned, where quality of the product itself is caused due to environmental surroundings. So WSN is able to detect environmental state and inform stakeholders about it. So the advantage for it is for stakeholders, for them to reach the unreachable environment. And the information is easily accessed through a centralized monitor. However, the disadvantage of our WSN, it is a fairly new innovation. So there's still problems in signal attenuation problems. And then accessibility for this is very exclusive in a sense, because it's still very costly, because it's still very new. So micro to medium enterprises still will have a struggle using this or gaining this wireless system network. Then again, with the problem of long dwell time, which is due to disordination of scheduling. Long dwell time causes an increase of gas emission, costly, low productivity and efficiency, and customer unsatisfactory, which the proposed solution for this is a logistic alliance traffic application. This was inspired by the port exchange application by the Port of Rotterdam. This is where stakeholders within the port has access of information, which the dashboard in the application would give them real-time information and where they can ship, where they can park, and where and what activities are happening there. So the advantage for this is there is real-time information, eliminate the risk of clashing arrivals, and reducing gas emission because not everyone is parking for too long. Then for the disadvantage, however, is still the willingness to use the application and the server capability in Indonesia. So it talks about the individual's motivation to wanting to download the application itself, and also the server from the application itself being able to hold up that much information and that much people accessing that application. Then we have the Take Back program. The Take Back program is coming from the disadvantageous disposable of waste. So the Take Back program application is inspired by the Garnier Green Beauty program, which is an arrangement of act of manufacturer or retailer buying or taking the waste of the product back from customers. So as we can see here, this is the illustration upon how a take back program would go. So the end consumer, and then in the star, it is representing the take back program application, where customers are able to inform the companies the availability and the products that they want to give back to the company, and where the company will then process it either through a picking program, or the customers could just drop it off in a designated place. For the Take Back program, it is very beneficial for the company itself, because it would cost them in lessening environmental waste, and then it's actually also helping them because there's a lot of rigorous environmental regulations now, not only in Indonesia but globally, so for them to also follow through the regulations. And also lastly, it's also actually cutting costs for them. It would not require them to spend the extra money to buy materials, as they already have existing materials, but they just need to refurbish it. I would like to end my session with a quote from Evreka, which is, "The future of waste management starts and proceeds with technological adjustment. It needs to become digitized and data-driven to advance." Again, there are still many opportunities that Indonesia can explore, but it might take a long time, but it might also not take a long time. It just needs a lot of support, not only from businesses, but also from the government, but also from the individual wantingness to support that. My name is Talisha Riyadi. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be speaking in front of you. I hope it is all understandable, and I hope it's helpful for everyone. And if there's any information that would like to be further discussed, you can always contact me. Thank you very much.